What's up, guys? Thank you so much for subscribing and sharing our show. We appreciate the support. On this week's episode, we have Scott Black. Scott is 26 years old and started his own business just over a year ago. He talks about the apprenticeship he did to get to where he is now and the values that were instilled upon him at a young age. His story is extremely inspirational. I hope it pushes all of us to pursue excellence. With that, let's get to it. Hey guys, Scott, appreciate you being with us. This is a good friend of ours, Scott Black. And Scott and I actually met randomly. I went to show a house over in Vista Lake, and he basically told me that he was the neighbor to the house we were looking at. And then after the showing, we just sat there and talked for like an hour, and we connected pretty well. Ended up talking about business and you know what was going on with him and everything. And so we appreciate you being on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Scott, give us a little taste. Tell us about your background. Tell us where you came from.
Well, I came from a relatively small town in Chicagoland area called Crown Point, but it's in Indiana. So, to make conversation shorter, when people ask, I just tell them that I'm from Chicago.
Okay.
But
it's Indiana instead of Illinois?
It is Indiana, but it's only like 40 minutes out from, Chicago. But yeah, so that's where I come from. I was born and raised there, and I stayed there until I was like 23 years old, I believe.
Awesome. What year were you born?
1997.
Let's go. You're still 90s, baby.
Yeah. Gen Z, the beginning.
The beginning of Gen Z?
Yeah.
Representing.
Yeah.
So basically, you grew up out in Indiana. What was it like growing up there? How I picture it is like farms, but is it like that?
Most of Indiana is like farmland, other than like Indianapolis or that small area that I'm from. They call it the region. That's pretty much, like I said, just a suburb of Chicago. So it's, a lot different than the rest of the state, and it's pretty well built up, kind of small town vibe in the essence of the fact that, it's not right up in Chicago, but there's certainly a decent amount of infrastructure over there.
I gotcha. And so being from a city like that, at 23, when you start thinking about, well, let's backtrack first. Did you go to high school there? Did you graduate high school? Did you go to school anywhere?
I did go to high school there. I graduated high school. I did pretty well in school. I was, towards the top of the class in GPA and everything. And I actually I went to college for only a year, actually. I went for mechanical engineering at Valpo University. And during that time frame, I actually I was working a job at a auto shop I worked for an auto shop, but they also owned a scrapyard, and I was the one that, the young one that got sent out to pull parts off cars in the weeds, at the scrapyard, making $7.25 an hour.
That sounds like 19 or 18.
Yeah, that was 18 years old, and I don't know. It's always kind of been something that I've been interested in, to do more of a labor job. Like I kind of watched my dad. So he was actually in the same field as me, and he started probably in his mid-20s, and he kind of excelled at his job, and I think that I got a lot of my values from him and the way I look at things, because he'd always kind of instilled that I was supposed to do things, properly and, to completion, not really, I want to say half,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't half it.
Yeah, I didn't half it. Yeah, I'll hold the swear words.
Yeah.
But, so, from a young age, I kind of saw that, and he actually, he didn't really, want me to go the route of a labor job, because he kind of saw what it was, and, he saw the late hours, and sometimes, it's hard on your family when you're not really home, when you're working, 6-7 days a week and 10 to 16-hour days, you never know. But so he actually was, big on pushing me to go to school. So I figured I would try it, but you know, after that year, I kind of decided that that really was not for me. So I went through a route of going into the labor force. I actually went to into a workers union through an apprenticeship program, and that's kind of where everything started. I put my name on a list, and in the meantime, I just worked, you know, odd jobs at different mechanic shops, and I had transitioned to working into like a steel mill setting, and I was actually doing a bunch of labor work in a steel producing plant when I got the call to come out to the apprenticeship, and that's where I started my first job, you know, heavy equipment wise. Actually, you know, in the field I'm in currently. So I was 19 years old when that happened.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I actually got my hands, you know, wet inside of it, I kind of, or my feet wet, I guess, I decided that, you know, I have a lot of interest in this and I kind of want to build on this. But, so that's kind of how it all started.
So you were 19 years old, and that's when you started getting a taste for the thing that you knew you wanted to do.
Yeah, and like I said, as a child, I kind of already knew that that's what I wanted to do, but, you know, I had decided that I would try something different first, and I knew I wasn't really a fan of it. It wasn't really for me, you know. I mean, it wasn't that I don't think I could have done it, but I'm kind of someone that has to, you know, I have to keep busy. I can't really sit behind a computer or a desk too long staring at a screen. It's like I have to be doing something with my hands to keep my interest.
And there's a lot of people like that, man.
Yeah, I'm like
Yeah,
that. I feel
certainly.
that.
I
Rob's
mean,
definitely like that.
Mhm.
And so he can relate. So basically, do you think that that time at the auto place, the auto place where you're ripping the parts off, do you think that motivated you any more to get into heavy equipment?
that certainly motivated me to get into heavy equipment because that kind of stunk. I did not want to work on cars. You know, I saw like firsthand what it is to be in the automotive field, and like, you know, a lot of the jobs aren't too bad. It's especially bad up there because that's what they call the Rust Belt. So like when you're working on a car, you know, it's gone through salt and grime, so everything breaks when you're pulling it apart, and every job's a nightmare.
Wow.
So I saw that and I was like, well, that's not really something I'm a fan of. And then I would see these vehicles that would come in, you know, filled to the brim with garbage. And yeah, and it was like it was disgusting, you know, and they didn't have a choice but to work on it. So I'd see the guys get in the car that smelt like, you know, rancid, and they would drive it into the shop, and I would just be in awe. Like, I really have no interest in this. That turned me away from, you know, the automotive side, but
Sure.
yeah.
And then you had mentioned some values that your dad had instilled in you. I want you to elaborate on some of those. What are some values that you brought to the table at, say, 19 or even today that are instilled from your dad?
I don't know. So it really started, you know, I saw like how hard he was working and, you know, what he was accomplishing, and, you know, he was doing pretty well. And, you know, so it actually kind of went into a different route where, you know, when he started to slow down at work a little bit more after he'd kind of built up something, he wanted to kind of connect with me and my brother a little bit more. So we actually started doing four-wheeler racing. Like, I don't know, they're called hare scrambles. It's like races through the woods on four-wheelers. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that. It's kind of a niche thing. It's popular in that, you know, a lot of people know about it, but it's kind of a, like I said, a niche thing.
I've never heard of it. That's cool.
I grew up riding foolers, man. Me and you could be buddies because that was kind of like my bread and butter.
Yeah.
You know, around here, that was all we had to do. When we
Yeah.
grew up out in Burnt Hickory, we just got on our foolers and rode. And a lot of my friends did those races like you're
Yeah,
talking
like
about.
the GNCC races and stuff.
Yeah, one of
like
my
that.
good friends, Blake Strickland, growing up right here in Dallas, he was pretty high up. He won a couple championships racing in that.
Okay, yeah, no, I actually never won any championships in the national level. I've certainly won a few races. I mean, it's been quite some time. The last one I think was at Loretta Lynn's ranch in like
We heard of that.
2013
That's the
or
second
something.
plug for that place here. One of our first guests, John Watkins, he rode motocross there,
Yeah,
and he loved that place. But he was telling us fun stories about going to that race.
that place is a lot of fun. I really liked the I liked the environment there, and the track was great. It's a well-maintained place. It's a lot of fun to go there.
So you and your dad, you're four-wheeler racing.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. Let's get back on that. We
and
derailed
he's,
a little bit. But.
bringing these values upon you.
Yeah, so it really went into, he would I understand it now, he wouldn't work on the stuff because it's high maintenance, especially when you get fast, I'm not going to say I was any sort of professional, but I was faster than the average Joe. But, when you get fast, you break a lot of stuff on your machine. So, it came to the point where a lot of times he's not going to fix it unless you're out there working with him. He knew how to fix it, but he didn't want me to not see, the work that went into it and me not to give a hand. So, I would have to go out there and I would have to fix the stuff with him, which I appreciate the fact that he did that, because otherwise, I could have just been inside, not doing anything. This is kind of before phones, so I couldn't really be sitting. Phones still existed, but it wasn't like, I didn't have the availability to go on Facebook on my phone. It was on the computer at that point. But
I remember those days.
yeah, MySpace, Facebook days. Yeah, bit of a throwback. But no, so I could have been on Facebook on the computer. I could have been playing video games and not really understood, what happened in that, area. But he made me do all the work with him, and it kind of, gave me some sort of sense of appreciation of what actually went into it. And I got to kind of pull things apart at a young age and see how they worked. And I really think more than anything, the fact that I was 10 years old when we started, 9 or 10, I think that had a huge impression on me, because, I think that those are your formative years. And it's
For sure.
I think my suggestion would be, even to I guess the younger group that has, children coming in, I think that really you should start to subject them to more of that field at a younger age, so they can kind of, understand whether they want to be, doing that kind of stuff or not. Because I think that, like I said, that had a big impression on me in the terms of I kind of understood how things work mechanically. And
Sure.
it kind of gave me a lot of interest in it, and understanding that stuff at a young age, there is no ceiling, because you can kind of start exploring that stuff when, you've got stuff going into high school like auto shop, machine shop, all that stuff. But if you go into that stuff with interest, you'll actually take a lot of stuff from those classes. And, at a young age, you've already got a good understanding of how things work.
And you're saying some people don't even get that opportunity.
No, and
kids are inside.
That's the thing. And, it's not that it's parenting styles. I don't want to knock on anyone's. It's just my personal opinion that, I think that it would be beneficial to, open that door to, your children and let them see that at a young age, because maybe they will take that and run, and maybe they will be interested in that, and maybe you'll start something at an early age, rather than, like I said, a lot of people don't really realize that early on, and you've lost years, and, like I said, it's formative years, so you've lost a lot of experience not getting that early exposure.
Absolutely. And while we're on this topic, Rob and I, we're blessed to be fathers, and I just we're reading this book, and it really just has brought me, I want to emphasize the importance, maybe you have a son or daughter, and maybe you're a dad watching this, or maybe you're about to be a dad, and, you have such a role to play in that child's life. And, you can really help, like we're talking about these formative years, you can really help them develop into something that, one day you will see. It is it's a reap what you sow kind of thing. You will see, your protege, and, that's awesome that your dad instilled values and taught you those things at that young age. So I want to ask, so let's go back to the apprenticeship. So how long did you do an apprenticeship for, and kind of what were the details of that? Was it a 5-year deal? Did you have to work the whole thing? Did you?
Yeah, so it was a 4-year deal, actually. I did have to work the whole thing, but it was split up to where you would have mandatory classroom hours. So I believe it was 1,000 or 1,200 hours that you had to spend in the class. So they would schedule, time off, or they would give you a class schedule, and you would have to take that time off. But the contractor had an agreement with the union that was okay, so they would work around that. And, you would go to their training site, and they would just, they would give you classes that actually, had something to do with what you were doing. And that's what I really think I got an upper hand in that, area, because a lot of times when you do go to some sort of schooling or technical school, you get a lot of useless information. You do get a lot of good information, but a lot of it's, filler information that maybe you'll never use. But this, program specifically was the instructors were very qualified, personnel that came out of the field. So they worked on the stuff and they understood the concepts, and they set up classes where they taught you only things that you need to know. So I got some really, really good information, throughout the 4 years that I was there, with everything, on these machines that I work on. So
Absolutely. So after the 4 years, did they just try to contract you into?
no, actually I stayed with the same company for 4 years. I worked a lot of overtime though, so I actually worked like probably 6 years worth of hours in 4 years, because at a certain point I was working 7 days a week, multiple times a month.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I it got kind of rough there for a little bit. I think one time I worked like 42 days in a row, and that was tough.
Dude,
That
what
was,
about the struggles on that? Where were you at mentally doing that?
that was exhausting, to say the least. That's I was working in the steel mill at that point, and they were, it was a high stress environment because they wanted all their equipment running, and they had a 24-hour operation. So it was, if something broke down in the middle of the night, it was, you got a call out and you came back into work and you had to fix it. But they wanted someone on site 7 days a week. And, a lot of times I kind of drew the short straw because I was the apprentice. So, if someone wanted to take time off, guess who, got thrown into the mix.
So you worked for 6 weeks straight. After the end of that, did you feel like a shadow? How did you feel?
I was kind of indifferent. I didn't really feel like a shadow or anything like that. It was kind of a weight lifted off my shoulders after, a few weeks of being on a regular 5-day week schedule, because, like I said, it was tough. It was very mentally exhausting and physically exhausting because I didn't really get any rest time. It was like I'd wake up. Yeah, well, like one of the weeks I worked like 110 hours. Yeah, no, I would wake up, I'd go to work, and then I would shower, eat, and then fall asleep and wake up. It was like a terrible, terrible, cycle to be stuck in. But yeah, so I certainly feel like I've, done my time. I've put in, the effort, but it's all on the job time is experience. So I can't really be too upset with it, because without all those hours, maybe I wouldn't have learned, what I know at the current point, because it's something different every single day,
That's a great perspective to have about it.
Yeah.
Hindsight's always 20/20.
Hindsight is 20/20. It was tough in the moment, but I came out of there unscathed. So
your apprenticeship, you're doing 4 years. Was it at this? So did that motivate you out of the steel mill, or did you work at the steel mill the entire 4 years of the apprenticeship?
Oh, I worked at the steel mill the entire 4 years of the apprenticeship, but that was just because of the company that I was working for. So the union
contract you through there?
Yes, the union sets up the apprenticeship program with contractors. So the contractors pull from the union's apprenticeship pool, and essentially they have an agreement with the union that, they can pay someone a lower rate until they hit X amount of hours and classroom hours, and, you get pay raises off of that. So I was in the spot that they needed someone the most, which was in the steel mill. But after I finished my apprenticeship program, they actually sent me out to an independent type of, I guess, deal where I stopped working on their equipment because they rented equipment to the steel mill. So, we maintained their equipment inside there, but they put me into a role afterwards where I worked on customer equipment. So it wasn't equipment that they owned. It was equipment that was owned by other companies, and, either they didn't have an on-site technician or they were incapable of, fixing it themselves. So they would call out, someone like me to work on their equipment.
I love talking about that hands-on stuff, man.
In the steel mill, what was the typical equipment you were working on? Like, what did they have there that you mainly worked on?
Everything. They had front-end loaders. They had, articulated dump trucks. They had excavators. They had bulldozers. They had these massive material handling forklifts. the masts on them were 20 feet tall.
Yeah.
They were just insane. But it really was a slew of machinery. I mean, it went everything from pickup trucks to front end loaders. So really, like the amount of experience I got from it was pretty impressive for the spot it was in. You would think it would be like one or two pieces of equipment, but
That's awesome. So after the apprenticeship, it's 4 years, and do you graduate from it, or is it just like it's over now you're off to do?
You do kind of have like a graduation. They give you a certificate and stuff like that. Yeah, but I mean, through it you get like a lot of certifications. You get like they have a welding side of it. You get welding certifications, and you get like mobile air conditioning certifications. So like they set you up for success, because after you finish there, you have a lot of times, you get like a first aid certification, stuff like that. So like I said, they just set you up for success. You come out of it with all these certifications to where you can go work just about anywhere and be, an asset.
That's awesome. It's almost like a trade school, and so
Essentially, yes, yeah.
except now you have hands-on experience where you're literally certified in all these areas. So you get done with that, and do you immediately start your own business, or do you go work for another company?
No, work for the same company actually, and like I told you, I was working on customer equipment, correct?
Yeah.
I was doing a bunch of odds and ends stuff up in that area. I had a few customers that really liked to use me, so I was pretty responsive with them. And then I got a call from one of my service managers that there was a job opportunity in Atlanta.
Nice.
So like it was working for the same company. I was still in the same truck and everything. I was just gonna have to work out of area. They paid per diem and stuff like that. So I was like, might as well give it a shot. I've been in the same area my whole life, and I really didn't care much for that area. I feel like a lot of people get like that with their hometown. You're just so used to it that you want a change of pace. But plus the winters there were really rough. Yeah, so that was, and it kind of comes from that. So when he told me about a job in Atlanta, it was -15 out, and
that sounded really good.
yeah, he said yeah, it's like probably 40-50 degrees down there. Neither him nor I had checked the forecast, so this was like 2 or 3 years ago, and it was like 15 degrees down here. So I get down here, and I should have checked the forecast myself. I was like, well, this is already off to a bad start. But, I guess 15 is better than -15.
And that's pretty uncommon for here, too.
Yeah, it was one of the colder winters recently. But, no, so, yeah, the winters have actually been pretty decent since then. I mean, last winter, it got pretty cold.
That 8-degree day.
Yeah, that 8-degree day, a lot of pipes burst.
Yeah.
I spent that deer hunting in a tree, and I about froze to death. So
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. That was probably pretty tough. But
So you get down here, and you just immediately start working for them?
yeah, so I was working at I worked for them on a customer's job site. So I was swapping, like me and another mechanic we would spend weeks down here at a time. I think it was 4 weeks, so we would alternate.
Oh, so you still had all your stuff up in?
I still had a house up there, yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so I was alternating with him, and it was okay. Like being somewhere for work, I don't really think you get the full experience, especially, I had a service truck, so I couldn't really bring it anywhere. It was like I was driving a massive service truck that I couldn't bring into the city or anything. So it was like I was kind of stuck at the hotel I was at, and I had to make friends, which was kind of difficult because I was 23, 24 at the time. So you've already gone through school and everything. So it's like you kind of lose that social, that social exposure that you get going to classes at a college or at high school. So came down here and knew nobody. And on the job site, no one's even close to my age. The nearest person was probably 40 years old. And I make friends with them, but I don't think it went any further than on the job site because we have such different, interests.
Absolutely.
But so that was certainly kind of tough. But so, anyways, we swapped back and forth, and we'd been doing this for probably 3-4 months by now. And I came down here in January, and it was maybe it was like 5 or 6 months, because I think it was July or August when the other mechanic didn't want to come back down. So I was kind of promised that they would find someone to replace me, and I'd be able to go back home. And 3-4 months went by, and no one. I think they kind of forgot about me because I was making them money, and I wasn't in their area, so they kind of ignored me to a certain extent. And it's kind of what fueled me to I was dissatisfied at that point. I felt kind of betrayed that I went out on a limb and I helped them grow, and they just forgot about me and kind of pigeonholed me into.
There was no appreciation.
No, not at all. I mean, they were making money hand over fist, and the site that I was on, I mean, they loved me. They were so accommodating, like they have a shop on that site, and I wasn't used to the Georgia heat at this point, because I was from Indiana, and it doesn't get nearly as hot. So, I'm inside the shop and I'm sweating, because it's summertime, it's hot, it's humid. And they go and they buy these, like, just because they saw me sweating in there, they bought these big swamp coolers, they call them, which are like big fans that have like water that runs through them, and it's like a mobile AC unit, I guess you could say, with a garden hose. And I mean, these are like $3,000 a piece, so they just dropped $6,000 on them because I was sweating. I'm like, man, that's appreciation. Yeah, like that's appreciation. And I can't even get a thank you from my company. I get a 30-second phone call, and it's not even about how's it going. It's about, why is this work order look like this? And I'm like, this is kind of opening my eyes on this. But, one thing led to another. I was down there, 3-4 months straight, and I kind of started to think that I was never going to get out of here. And I decided that, it was time for me to make a move. And I'd gotten a few job offers in the area, but I wasn't really interested in that because they didn't really have, what I wanted.
Sure.
So I kind of grew this relationship with that site that I was on, and they were really interested in using me, and I was pretty interested in leaving. So this is where the idea of me starting my own business kind of really, blossomed. I had always wanted to, I guess I kind of jumped way forward on the story. During my apprenticeship, I had always wanted to do my own thing, because there was there was this specific company that we would always call out, that the name was Elite.
Uh-huh.
And I just thought it was so cool that, like, the name of this company that has some of the best mechanics in the area, because it's like you would always call out Elite if you wanted something fixed right. And it's like, that was just like an incredible name, because it's like,
it's a good reputation.
Yes, yeah. It's like they held true to their name. It's like, we need to get Elite out here to fix that. And it's like, that's, they're the elites in doing this kind of work. I thought it was really cool at a young age, and like, I saw that, and I saw how good those guys were, and it's like, it just kind of like sparked a fire in me, and I wanted to be, like them, because I saw like those guys, they had a reputation. It's like a lot of people knew them, and it's just because of the work that they did. It's like, yeah, that X or Y person, I'd say their names, but you don't know who they are, so it doesn't make sense. So X or Y person's coming out, and it's like everyone had respect for him, and they didn't even have to worry about him or check over his work because they knew it was going to be done.
And how old were you at that point getting that impact?
I was 19 years old. That was actually funny enough. That was like one of the first impressions I had, because when I started my apprenticeship program, before I even got into the union, I was on permit. They had set me with said guy because they wanted me to get some good, experience. And I felt like I was just dragging him down so hard because I knew nothing, other than how to change oil at this point, really. and he just knew so much, and I was like trying so hard to help him, but I felt like I was such, a burden to him. But it really it opened up like a different path in my eyes about kind of where I wanted to grow or where I wanted to go, and that's really what started the whole thing. And it kind of blossomed through the years into, instead of working for someone else and making a name for myself, why don't I start my own business? And I want to put out the best product. I want to have
The reputation.
yeah, the reputation. I want to have the prime equipment services of the area, the top ones. You call us when there's an issue. You call us when there's, something that someone else can't fix. We're the guys that are going to come out, and we're going to do it right, and we're going to leave a good impression on you. It was all off of just wanting to, have high quality.
So you found that something worthy of pursuing.
Yeah, and it's very funny. It all stemmed from the minor interactions I had with that one guy when I was 19 years old. It just, like I said, it just sparked a flame, and I was like, I wanted greatness at that point, but until I got older, I didn't really realize where I wanted to go with it,
And we say that to our guys all the time, man. You never know who you're impacting. I love that, Scott.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break.
Real quick, guys, this is Rob with the Wheeling Agency. I just wanted to reach out to y'all. We've been in business a little over 3 years here in Paulding County. We take pride in serving our community, so next time you're in the need for some insurance, give us a call and reach out. Now get back to the show.
So that guy, he instills all this value in you where you see, like, I want to be perfect. I mean, not perfect, but I want to be good at this.
Close to that,
I
yeah.
want to be excellent, elite.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, so that's essentially what it was. I just saw, the value that, like, I mean, it sounds kind of silly, but it really did something for me, seeing the value that guy's name alone held to everyone, the respect that everyone had for him. As a kid, I was like, I want that. Like, I want to be that guy that everyone's, got all that respect for, and, just your name holds value. I want you to hear Scott Black and be like, have a good outlook on that, or know who that is, or, just know that, Scott Black and his crew are coming onto your job site. It's going to be good.
I respect that, man. We try to do the same in our
Yeah.
businesses.
Oh, yeah.
So you get done, and the mechanic's not coming back. I want to circle back to that. The mechanic's not coming back, and now now they want to hire you out. And you say, I'm going to start my own business.
Yeah, no, so actually what had transpired initially is they offered, well, not even offered. It was kind of, they were interested in, me possibly just, leaving the union and maybe coming to work with them. And there was no actual offer or anything. It was just, talk. But so we had talked about it, and, I told them that wouldn't work. I wanted to stay where I was at, and it had to make sense for me. So I really kind of started, chewing on the idea a little bit over the next few weeks on things that we could do to make this work. And, it kind of just developed into me asking them, hey, what if I started my own business? Would you guys still be interested in, working with me then? And they're like telling me, the reason that you guys are out here is because of you. We have no connection to the company. They don't even, say hello to us. They just bill us. So they're like, you're the whole entire reason that we deal with you guys. If you weren't here, we wouldn't deal with you guys. And I'm like, okay. So, we kind of hashed some stuff out. We figured out, what we were going to have to do to start the business and start working together. And, I kind of started making moves at that point.
What all did getting it started entail?
Just creating a corporation, getting everything good with the tax side and like the government side and everything. I was just kind of, setting up all the pins at that point. And I mean, this is like towards the end of the year. So I knew I was going to make a move. I just had to know when, and everything had to line up. So I actually reached out to a company, because to do the work that I do, it's mobile, maintenance. So you don't send your stuff to a shop or anything for me. I am essentially the shop coming to you. So I have to have what's called a service truck, which is a truck that has all my tools, welding equipment, a crane on it, and all that good stuff. So I can actually work on all your stuff where it sits or where it goes down. But so I had to reach out to companies, and I found a vehicle that I thought would suit me, and I started to get it built, and it was like a 4-month lead time, at that point. So I started that, and at that point, I had to pull out a loan to get them to begin creating that vehicle. So, I mean, it's a lot of upfront costs, certainly, but I knew that I knew where I wanted to be, and I knew success was the only option here. So I wouldn't even say it was a gamble. It was an educated risk.
Calculated risk. I love that.
Yeah, calculated risk. Yeah.
Yes.
But so I kind of knew where I was going, but I pulled out the loan on that, and I got everything lined up, and I just kind of worked until that point came up. I already knew what I was doing, and I knew that I had set myself up for success at that point. And I think that to go off on a tangent, I think that that's a problem with a lot of people that are trying to start businesses early or anything. You can't, in my opinion, you can't just see someone else's business that's doing well and think that you're going to start something up just out of the blue. There's a lot of preparation and thought that goes into things. You have to plan, and you have to, you have to see the niche, because there's niches for everything. Everyone needs something. You just have to find what it is, And I mean, that's really what it is. You got to find what is, a necessary service. And I found that, obviously there was a big market for what I'm doing, because a lot of people, there's not a lot of mechanics out there, and there's not a lot of there's not a lot of mechanics for all the equipment, and there's not a ton of excellent mechanics. There's a lot of mechanics, and there's a lot of good mechanics, but excellence is it's not found everywhere, and a lot of people are there just for a paycheck. And I think that's part of what separates someone that's okay from being excellent. You got to have interest in what you're doing, and that brings me to the same point of starting a business. Don't start something because you think that it's going to make you money. It has to be something that you're enveloped in, that you have a lot of interest in, that you want to grow.
Yes.
You have to have interest in it. It's not about the money. I mean, the money will come if you're good at what you're doing,
And
but
if the interest is there.
if the interest is there, you have to have the drive. It's not something you're going to do, on the side and kind of forget about and just come to every once in a while. You got to make your life about this. You got to figure out what you want, where you want to be, and you got to figure out how you're going to get there, and you have to execute doing that. And a lot of times, if you're not interested, you're not going to do that. You've got to have interest.
We talk about how hard it is to start these businesses.
It is. It's difficult.
It's-
I mean,
Yeah, and you are living proof, and so we talk about the difficulty, but also if there was no passion, it's so difficult you would quit.
Oh, you would definitely quit. I mean, honestly, I said that I set myself up for success, okay, and I did. But I knew that times were going to be hard off the get, because when you take a calculated risk like this, you understand that. I mean, there's weighing it. Some people want to come up, and they want to spend as little as possible and try and, go out there and give a good service. And you can, but, a lot of times, let's even go to the instance of a service truck. If you buy a used one, that's got 200,000 miles on it, you've got a grenade with a pin falling out of it. If you can get out to customers' job sites, that's good. But a lot of times it's even, they see it, it's image. If they see you roll up in a ratted out truck, they're going to say, I don't know about this guy, if they see you in this rusted out vehicle, and it's unfair sometimes, because you could be very good, but that's just how the world works. It's image. You have to come out there looking professional for people to want to keep on working with you a lot of times. I mean, it's not always the case, but so a lot of people will buy these used trucks, and then they'll argue that it's kind of dumb to buy a new truck because it's a big cost. What is it?
Yeah.
$20,000-$30,000 for a used truck that's in poor shape, or $150,000-$160,000 for a new truck that's in immaculate shape. But so anyways, I chose the latter route to go, the more expensive truck that I knew was going to be reliable. I knew I wouldn't be breaking down on the way to customers' job sites or anything. And a lot of people won't agree with that, but everyone does business in their own way. But
Sure. Did you have confidence in that, knowing that you were going to get the job from these people too?
I knew, yeah, if anything, I knew that this, and I'm not even going to say it's a stepping stone because I still work with them and they still, I take a lot of pride in doing a really good job for them, and I hold them to almost a higher spot than I do any of my other customers because really, I've grown a relationship with the people that are there, and they're the ones that made this,
Possible.
if it all comes down to it, yeah, they're the ones that took the risk with me, and at this point, I've kind of started to flourish, and I've put multiple people on. I've got new people calling me every day about, can you come look at this equipment?
That's
Do you
awesome.
have? Yeah, and it's like,
And in a spot where you're not, like, you moved here, what, 3 years ago?
I actually moved here and started my own business. I mean, I was with that other company for about a year, and that was 2021 to 2022. So January 8th, 2022 is actually when I had left the other business, and January 14th is when I moved down here on my own, with a new business.
That's
Like
incredible.
that was when, and that's only what?
A year and a half ago.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, so it's exploded. I never thought that it would be where it was at this current point,
Well,
in this amount of time.
I can see why with the plan and everything, and that shows the power of relationships.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
power of relationship.
Yeah.
And
On
your
all the
attitude,
time.
you can go out, especially in the mechanic field, because I got tons of buddies that are mechanics, and I've got several that work on heavy equipment, and it's just like, sometimes you deal with people and they just act like they hate their job, and like
Yeah, oh yeah.
they come in and they're just so negative, and everything's just terrible, 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 and then
Yeah.
you get somebody like you, it's probably a breath of fresh air for them because they're thinking, man, this guy, younger guy, clean cut, he comes in, he doesn't have a bad attitude, he acts like he likes what he does. They're
Yeah.
gonna want to use you.
Well, and that's a big thing too, and that's where I go back to, I mean, we've really been bouncing around on this, but like, so that's where I go back to the thought of like, if you want to be successful, you have to, have a passion for what you do. And a lot of people, that's where a lot of people fail, it turns into just a paycheck for them. You can always get better. It doesn't matter what field you're in. There's always more to learn. There's always more information that's available. You can always get better and you can always improve, but a lot of people kind of get complacent and, it turns from them trying to do better to, I'm just here for a paycheck and I'm just going to do what I have to do and that's going to be it. And, that's where the growth stops.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're passionate about what you do and you always want to do better, that's where it opens up, the possibility to do what I'm doing. That's where it was the entire time. The entire time that I worked, I was always trying to get better. I was always trying to take all the information I could, always trying to make all the relationships with everyone because I knew that it was just opening doors,
And relationships are what we call, it was from a book I got, but relationships are infinite ROI. Like you got your stock market, that's going to give you a single digit ROI.
Yeah.
You got your real estate, that's going to give you a double digit ROI. Relationships can give you an infinite ROI because you do not know who will connect and what will happen in your life. And that's why we hold value in relationships.
Your network is your net worth.
Certainly.
So Scott, you're 26. You moved here a year and a half ago. Now that I know that,
Yeah.
So you moved here at 25. What's the last year and a half been like? How do you start a business with this one customer and start growing it? Who do you start calling? What do you do?
Well, actually, it was, it just kind of happened off a whim almost, I would say. And this is why I didn't see where it was going to, it was going to get to the point that it did so quick. Because really, my thought process in coming into all of it is I thought, I was going to work for this customer for a few years and kind of build up a little bit of a bankroll. And then, I was going to try and put another guy on and kind of remove myself and try and work on different customer sites, maybe not stay busy 5 days a week because I'm trying to find customers at that point, but I would just be eating on the savings that I'd got. It was going to be another calculated risk, but I mean, it didn't go that way at all. I built up a little bit of, bankroll and, I mean, really a lot of it was going back to paying off loans, but so I did really good work, and that's where it all kind of started out at. And I was trying to, with this company I work with, they're a large company in the area. They were having problems on other sites with actually with the dealership. They were having problems with the dealership, and they wanted a different solution, which is exactly what I offer. My main competitors are the dealerships,
Like Yancey Brothers.
like Yancey Brothers. I hate to name drop, yes, like Yancey Brothers, Dobbs Equipment, Ascendum. I have good relationships with a lot of guys there. However, I mean, I'm the competitor to them. And it's kind of funny to me. The Yancey Brothers especially. My name is starting to get known in the area. I hear my name get thrown around every once in a while by some of their guys.
It's a good thing, though.
Yeah, it is. It is a good thing, and but
for that market share.
I am. But so, anyways, they weren't that satisfied with the service they were getting, and they were, looking for a change. So, I had reached out to one of my. Actually, I have a childhood friend. He's pretty much like a brother to me, but I actually got him into the union apprenticeship quite some time ago, and he also, he worked with me for a little bit back then. Not at the same company, but not ever with me. I mean, I would have loved to actually work side by side with him, which I do now. But so, anyways, every time that I would return home, he'd ask me, "When are you gonna hire me?" Just messing around, and what buddies do. When are you gonna hire me? When are we gonna work together? It would always kind of be a joke. And then, this opportunity opened up, and they were looking for someone to like do what I was doing on that site. And I was like, "Hey, man, the joke's over. Like,
Time's here."
yeah, the time's here. This is serious. Do you want to come work with me?" I'm like, I'll give you better pay than you're getting. I can promise you that, and I'm going to take care of you, And obviously he was a little bit skeptical at first because, it's tough to come work with your friend, especially work for your friend, because the relationship's a little bit different, And I don't think he,
And was he moving from Indiana too?
Oh, yeah. So I don't think he was so comfortable with it at first, and he got to think about it, and it was just good timing on my end because he was a bit fed up with what was happening, what was transpiring on his job site. So, everything kind of fell into place, and, I started the dialogue with him, ended up getting another service truck, and then another friend of mine from Chicagoland, who also worked at the same company that I worked at, and I'd worked with him before, like on many jobs. He reached out to me, and he's like, "Hey, man, the customer that I'm with doesn't really want to work with this company anymore. Is there any way you think we could work together?" And I just got this service truck, and we hadn't really finalized things with this other site. So I was like, man, this is kind of bad timing, but I'm like, I can't pass this opportunity up because they wanted a contract. They wanted a weekly contract. And I'm like, this is set money. I know it's good money. So I ended up putting him on, and then I had to get another service truck. I had to rent a service truck until I could get one, built.
Yeah.
And I ended up putting that other guy, my friend, on. He came down here, and we were both working on that one site until I was able to stem off into the other site. And then, we had all three of the guys, we were all working on different sites, and I was just getting, that's kind of where it was at for a little while. We were all just kind of staying busy on our own. And then, I just started getting calls like out of the blue from, people that I hadn't talked to in a while. And, "Hey, are you still working on equipment? How's the business going? We need a good tech out here, and we'd like to work with you." And I mean, I've just been, like I said, I've been getting calls from a lot of different people, and it's just started opening a lot of doors to new customers. And now, I've gone from 1 or 2 customers to like 10 to 15. It's just, it's growing, and that doesn't seem like a big number now, but it's like a lot of these are, massive customers that have so much work that I can't personally deal with it on my own. Like, I'm looking to hire another person at the current point because I'm getting so busy. Like, I'm working like till almost 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock every night, trying to go from job site to job site, you know, just to keep these people happy.
Yep. Just comment if you want to work in heavy equipment in the metro Atlanta area. So right now you have 3 service trucks, and it's you guys.
Yeah.
And you're working these 10 to 15 customers. So you're out here actively searching for more. That's where you're at currently.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah. If anyone's interested in, you know, getting a better maintenance program, yeah, no comment there. But you know, I'm available to. I mean, that's what I do. I go with customers, and I give them a different spin on what they've got. A lot of people kind of got used to bad maintenance, you know, not dealing with bad customer service, dealing with waiting days while their machines are down. And my target is to go into a customer and target, you know, 0 downtime, which 0 downtime translates to productivity. And they fall in love with that. And that's why a lot of places that I go never turn back. They just want to keep working with us, because it goes from, we wait days for you to get out here, and, you know, we have bad customer service, to now our machines are almost never down, you know. And like I said, no downtime means productivity, and productivity is money.
Yes. And it goes back to, once again, that at 19, you say, and I want to be elite. And now here we are. What do you see? Like, I know you have a plan. What do you see your company as in, say, 10 to 15 years? Because we interview a lot of people that, you know, they may have already found success. Where do you plan for your success to go?
I mean, really, at the current point, just for this business specifically, I'd like to just keep growing in the route that we are. I want to be a competitor to, you know, the dealerships, and I want to actually be out on customer job sites and give these people a, you know, like I said, a better option for their maintenance. I would like my guys to be dealing with a lot of different contractors' equipment, you know, instead of them having to deal with anyone else. They can just go specifically through us, and I can keep these people happy while I've got my guys happy. And I mean, that's really what the end goal is, I guess. I just want to grow in the same method that I am currently. Just I'd like to put more people on and deal with more customers. But I don't want to get too big in this, you know, industry, because I want to be able to keep a hold on it and keep the quality control up. Because I think that that's an issue a lot of people have too, is they try and expand too quickly without planning, and then, you know, they hire people they don't know. They hire, you know, people that don't turn out to work, and then, you know, you start to look bad to customers, and kind of your reputation goes down. But I want to keep a high reputation. That's
absolutely. So standards are the way to do that.
Exactly. I mean, so I don't really want to grow too big, so like I said, I can keep a hold on it. But
absolutely. Well, Scott, one thing we ask every guest that comes on here, you know, we named the show Pave the Way, hoping to pave the way for people that are maybe inspired to be a heavy equipment you know, mechanic, or maybe they just are thinking like, man, these guys are always talking to people about business that is, you know, this and that. Here's a trade to get into, you know, things like that. What is one piece of advice that you would give to someone? Say you're 19, say they're you at 19 again. What's one piece of advice you'd give them to pave their way?
I mean, just think, I guess really just think about your future. It's really, like you said, you're paving the way. Think about where you want to be and how you want to do it. Don't really think about what's going on now. Plan, you know, for the next few steps. I guess that's really my only advice there. If you're passionate about what you do, if you're not passionate about what you do, find something else. That's a really good set of advice. You know, if you hate what you do and you're just there for the money, it's going to be miserable, you know.
Absolutely.
So find a niche that you like, find something that interests you, and put a lot of effort into it and get the best that you can, because when you know, gather all of those abilities, you make yourself more valuable and you're able to grow further, you know. I mean, like I said, that's essentially what paved the way to where I am currently. If I wouldn't have taken that path and always tried to get better and, you know, almost become obsessive about, you know, improvement,
yes,
I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Man, well, you heard it here. Find something you're passionate about, make a plan. Scott, I have no doubts that you're going to be successful, man. And I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Absolutely.